field evacuation, the crew of a disabled tank must camouflage it and stay with it if possible. The tank transporter will bring a replacement vehicle, which will be turned over to the crew of the disabled tank. After sending part of his crew to help unload the good tank, the tank commander explains the situation to the transporter squad leader and dispatches his men to remove their equipment from the disabled tank. To speed up operations, the tank driver should immediately mount the tank and start the engine, while the transporter crew drops the ramps and removes the chock blocks. The tank is then turned over to the tank commander and his crew and driven off the trailer. Speed is essential in this operation to enable the tank to get back into action with the minimum loss of time. The recovery operation requires the use of a bridle chain for pulling the tank and anchoring the shiv. The shiv, as well as the chain, is carried in the ballast body and is used for angle pulls and for rigging multiple part lines. The electric cable is not needed for daytime operations, so it is removed and kept in the ballast body. Now the prime mover is uncoupled, as the trailer is not needed for the preliminary operation. The shiv block must be anchored to a tree so that the tank can be pulled into an open place where a straight line pull can be rigged. But the shiv block clevis pin is left out until the winch line is run through the shiv block. In the meantime, the camouflage is removed from the tank and the tank driver enters the tank to steer it. Next, the winch is free spooled and the winch line run out to the tree. It is passed through the shiv block and the clevis is pinned. Then the line is run over to the tank, where the eye is coupled to the right front towing lug. This completes the rigging for the angle pull. But remember, the crew must stand outside the open triangle formed by the tank, the tree, and the prime mover, so that should the shiv block or the line break, they will be projected away from the men. When the tank has been pulled out into the clear, the squad leader signals the driver who is operating the winch to reverse the engine, slackening the line so it can be uncoupled. Next, one of the men uncouples the winch line from the front of the tank, while the others unpin the shiv block and remove the line. The shiv block and chain are taken to the rear of the tank, where they will be needed for the rest of the recovery operation. All the men except the winch operator and a man who guides the line on the spool hold back on the winch line so it can be wound tightly. The squad leader then directs the driver to turn the prime mover around and prepare to couple the trailer to the front pintle hook. This brings the turning radius nearer to that of the trailer, makes it much easier to steer. The crew prepares the trailer to be moved. The air reservoir must be drained to remove the pressure on the automatic brake valve, which locks the brake when the prime mover air lines are disconnected. The chuck blocks and ramps are then put up. The rigging chains are temporarily placed on the bed of the trailer. Now the tow bar is coupled to the front spindle hook of the prime mover, and the unit is jockeyed into position to load the tank. In the meantime, the crew rigs the bridle cable and shiv block to the towing lugs on the rear of the tank by means of the tank clevises. Again, the pin is left out of the shiv block until the line is run through it. The trailer is placed across the road at the greatest possible angle which will allow it to stay on the road. Remember, this unit is designed for hard surface roads only. Take it off the road and you're going to be sorry. After the trailer handbrakes are set, the prime mover is turned around, and the trailer is prepared to load the tank. The bed of the trailer is cleared of chock blocks and chains, and the ramps are lowered into position. The prime mover must now be recoupled to the trailer and the air brakes connected before the winch line can be run out. The driver then free spools the winch, and the men pull the winch line down the bed of the trailer. The man on the end of the line crawls under the tank with it, and the others go around to the rear to help him pull it through. They pass it through the shiv block and back to him, and then, as he crawls forward with the line, one man pulls it from the front while the other pins the clevis to the shiv block. As the squad leader feeds the line to the rear, the others take the end of the line from the man under the tank and pull it forward to the trailer. It is run through the anchored shiv block on the bed of the trailer, then back underneath the tank and anchored to the other shiv block. When completely rigged, the three-part line looks like this. To assist in keeping the truck from slipping while the winch is pulling in the tank, scoops are placed under the front wheels. The anchor cables of the scoops are hooked onto the lateral bar beneath the truck. Now, with one of the men guiding the line with a crowbar, the transporter is ready for the loading of the tank. For reasons of safety, the crew must stand clear of the winch line. Should the line break while pulling a 30-ton tank, a man standing nearby would be cut in two before he had time to duck. So stand clear. The man steering the tank must be careful to align it so that it hits the base of the ramp squarely. This will lessen the strain on the winch and line considerably. When coming up the ramps, this strain is nearly the full weight of the tank, hence the three-part line. The safe line pull cannot be exceeded, however, because of the torque control mechanism which will kill the motor when the pull is too great. The speed of pulling is governed by the engine speed as controlled by the remote throttle on the winch. When the tank is pulled into position on the trailer, the winch line is uncoupled and rewound, and the tank securely lashed in place as has been shown before. The transporter is now ready to take this disabled tank back to the shop. When the transporter returns with its cargo, two of the men carry the sheave block to the rear, after the chains and chock blocks have been removed and the ramps lowered. Two others pull out the winch line as it is free-spooled and push it toward the rear down the trough in the bed of the trailer. The other men pull the cable out at the rear. They pay out enough line to extend from back to the front. They then feed the line through the rear sheave block and push it back up the trough. It is then coupled to a towing lug of the tank with a clevis. A member of the crew stays in the tank to guide and brake it as it is pulled off the ramp. All that remains is for the driver to winch in the line and pull the tank to the rear until it has started down the ramp. The winch is then free-spooled while the tank driver eases the tank off the trailer. Recovery and evacuation in the desert presents singular problems not encountered under normal conditions. Sand, wind, and heat all contribute to the increased number of breakdowns. The difficulty of camouflage and dispersion add to the dangers of these operations. It is therefore of great importance to minimize this danger by getting the disabled vehicle back to the shop as quickly as possible. As it was pointed out before, the M-19 tank transporter is not designed to operate off a hard surface road. Don't take it off the highway or you'll find yourself in this predicament. The disabled tank must therefore be spotted on or near the road so that the transporter doesn't have to get into the loose sand. Because of the lack of cover, no time should be lost in loading the tank. The tank driver attaches the bridle cable as the transporter gets set to load. From here on, the operation is essentially the same as you've seen before. The brakes are set. The crew drops the ramps and removes the chock blocks. They then pull the winch line out and over the roller. It goes between the guide pulleys to the disabled tank. The other members of the crew couple the bridle cable to the tank. When this is done, the tank driver enters the tank to steer it as it is being loaded. And the others pin the end of the winch line to the bridle cable. With everything set for loading, the driver disengages the clutch, shifts the power takeoff into the engaged position, neutralizes the auxiliary transmission, and shifts the main transmission into first. He then steps out opposite the winch, releases the winch brake, and engages the power clutch, simultaneously opening the remote throttle and engaging the jaw clutch. The tank is now pulled forward and started up the ramp, but notice it is being pulled by only a single line. The safe line pull on the spool at this point is about 22,000 pounds. However, when the tank reaches the top of the ramp where the pull is greatest, the maximum safe line pull is exceeded, and the torque control mechanism automatically stops the motor and the tank. As you see here. In loading a medium tank, the line pull must be decreased to within the limits of the torque control mechanism. To do this, connect the movable sheave block to the rear of the tank. Run the winch line under the tank through this sheave block back to the front of the trailer. Through the anchored sheave block, then back underneath and anchoring it to the sheave block under the tank. With this hookup, the tank is pulled onto the trailer. A well-trained crew can load a tank and get it on its way to be repaired in a very few minutes. The M-19 can also be effectively used to carry heavy cargo, such as these tank engines. To lash the load, ropes are anchored on one side of the trailer, passed across the top of the load and fastened on the other side. The man on top of the load pulls up on the slack, and the one on the ground tightens the rope. The rope is tightened and tied with a Dutchman's hitch. Two additional lines should be passed across the top and tied to the rear of the trailer. With some heavy equipment, chains and block and tackle will be needed to lash the load. This unit can be only as efficient as the crew which operates it. A properly trained crew can make the M-19 an effective transporter unit under a wide variety of conditions.
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like more informative content, check my main channel as well, where you can find in-depth videos about historical weapons, vehicles and events. See the link in the description.